Jinsu Park stood in the shadows of a broken building in Seoul, watching another harvest ship land in the city center. The massive alien vessel blocked out the morning sun as it settled onto the concrete with a deep rumble. He gripped his stolen plasma rifle tighter and counted the guards stepping out. 6 Crux warriors in their black armor and 2 floating Etherian supervisors with their crystal skin glowing pale blue. 5 years had passed since first contact. 5 years since humanity learned they were not alone in the universe. 5 years since every dream of friendship and cooperation between species died in the voting chambers of the Galactic Council. Jinsu remembered that day clearly. The whole world had watched as Earth's representatives stood before beings from dozens of star systems. They had hoped for trade, for knowledge, for a place among the stars. Instead, they heard the vote that changed everything. All in favor of classifying Earth as a labor resource world? The council speaker had asked. Every hand, claw, tentacle, and appendage had risen. Every single species voted yes, the Etherians with their ancient wisdom, the Crux with their warrior honor, the Traders Guild with their peaceful reputation, the small colony worlds that Earth thought might understand their struggle. Even species that had never met humans before voted to make them slaves. The reasoning was simple and cruel. Humans were strong but primitive. They could think but had no advanced weapons. They bred quickly and adapted to different environments, perfect slaves for a galaxy that needed workers, soldiers, and servants. Now Jinsu watched those same aliens load children onto their ship, boys and girls who should have been playing in parks or learning in schools. Instead, they would be shipped across the galaxy to work in mines, fight in arenas, or serve alien masters who saw them as property. A small girl with bright eyes caught his attention. She looked about 12 years old, the same age his sister Minji had been when they took her 3 months ago. The girl stumbled as a Crux guard pushed her toward the ship's cargo hold. Jinsu's finger moved to his rifle's trigger, but he forced himself to stay hidden. One man could not fight a harvest ship, not yet. The resistance had taught him patience. Commander Sarah Chen, their leader in this sector, always said the same thing. We save who we can when we can, but our real job is preparing for the day we save them all. That day felt impossibly far away as Jinsu watched the ship seal its cargo holds and lift into the sky. 200 more humans gone to slavery. 200 more reasons to keep fighting. He made his way through the ruined streets toward the meeting point. Seoul was a ghost of its former self. Most buildings stood empty, their windows dark. The aliens only kept enough humans here to maintain basic services and prepare for harvests. Everyone else had been taken or fled to the mountains where resistance cells hid in caves and abandoned mines. The resistance meeting was in an old subway tunnel deep underground. Jinsu climbed down through a hidden entrance and found 20 other fighters waiting. Sarah Chen stood at the front, her scientist's mind now focused entirely on war. Next to her was Captain Yuki Tanaka, whose military training made her their best tactical leader. The intelligence was correct, Sarah said without greeting. They took another 200 today, but we also confirmed something important. She activated a holographic display stolen from alien technology. Images of distant worlds appeared, showing human slaves working in conditions that made Jinsu's stomach turn. Men and women forced to fight alien beasts for entertainment, families separated and sold to different planets, children trained as personal servants for alien households. This is happening everywhere, Sarah continued. Every species profits from human labor. The peaceful traders use our people in their factories. The wise Etherians have human servants in their temples. Even the smallest colony worlds buy human workers to build their cities. Yuki stepped forward. We intercepted communications from the Galactic Council. They call it the human solution. Our species provides cheap labor that lets every other race focus on higher pursuits: art, science, philosophy, war. They don't have to do manual labor anymore because they have us. Jinsu raised his hand. What about species that might help us? There must be someone who voted against slavery. Sarah's expression grew hard. We checked the voting records. The vote was unanimous. Not one species stood with humanity. Not one voice spoke for our freedom. They all agreed we were better as slaves than as equals. The words hit the room like a physical blow. Even the resistance fighters who thought they understood their situation felt the full weight of galactic abandonment. Every species that had ever reached the stars looked at humanity and decided they belonged in chains. There's more, Yuki said. They're planning something called Harvest Day, a coordinated collection of every free human on Earth. They want to process our entire remaining population within the next 6 months. Jinsu thought of the girl on the ship, of his sister somewhere in alien hands, of every human suffering across the galaxy while their captors celebrated. He thought of species that called themselves noble and wise, voting to enslave an entire world. What do we do? Someone asked. Sarah looked around the room at faces filled with anger and determination. We've been reverse engineering their technology for 5 years, learning their weaknesses, building our strength. They think we're primitive animals good only for labor. She paused, letting her words sink in. Maybe it's time to show them what kind of animals humans really are when you corner us, when you take our children, when you make the whole galaxy our enemy. Jinsu felt something cold and hard settle in his chest. The last of his hope for peaceful solutions died in that tunnel. If every species in the galaxy wanted to treat humans like monsters, perhaps they should see what human monsters could do. The next harvest ship that comes to Sol won't leave, he said quietly. Sarah nodded. None of them will. The resistance meeting continued into the night, planning for a war that would either free humanity or destroy them completely. But for the first time since the aliens arrived, Jinsu felt something other than despair. He felt the cold fire of purpose burning in his heart. The galaxy had made its choice. Now, humanity would make theirs. 3 weeks after the Sol meeting, Jinsu crouched in a damaged communication center in the mountains outside the city. Dr. Sarah Chen worked at a bank of alien computers she had rebuilt with human parts and captured technology. Her fingers moved quickly across interfaces that no human was supposed to understand. I'm connected to resistance cells in 12 countries now, Sarah said without looking up. The network is bigger than we thought. Captain Yuki Tanaka studied tactical displays showing Earth's remaining free zones. Red dots marked alien control centers while green showed resistance strongholds. The green dots were growing. How many fighters do we have? Jinsu asked. Active resistance members number around 50,000 worldwide, Yuki replied. But that doesn't count sympathizers, suppliers, and hidden supporters. The real number might be 10 times higher. Jinsu felt a mix of hope and sorrow. 50,000 fighters sounded like a lot, until he remembered that billions of humans had already been taken. Earth's population had dropped from 8 billion to less than 1 billion in 5 years. Most of the survivors lived in carefully controlled zones where aliens harvested them like crops. Sarah suddenly stopped working. Her face went pale as she read something on her screen. What is it? Yuki asked. Communications from the Orion sector. It's about the gladiator programs. Sarah turned the screen so they could see. Video footage showed human fighters being forced to battle alien creatures for entertainment. The crowds cheered as men and women died in arena sand. But what made Jinsu's blood freeze was the commentary. An alien announcer spoke cheerfully about the savage humans and their primitive fighting instincts. The camera showed alien families with their children, all watching humans die like it was a circus show. Some aliens placed bets on which humans would survive longest. Turn it off, Jinsu whispered. There's more, Sarah said. Intelligence reports from other sectors. New images appeared. Human children working in alien factories, their small hands perfect for delicate assembly work. Human scientists forced to solve problems for their captors while living in cages. Human artists creating beautiful works that aliens displayed in their homes, never mentioning who made them. But the worst came last. Breeding facilities where humans were kept like livestock, their children taken at birth to be raised as perfect slaves. The aliens had charts showing which human traits they wanted to encourage and which to eliminate. "They're treating us like animals," Yuki said, her military training barely keeping her voice steady. "Worse than animals," Sarah corrected. "Animals have value for what they are. We only have value for what we can do for them." Jinsu stood and walked to the window. Outside, the mountains of Korea stretched toward the horizon. His ancestors had fought foreign invaders in these same hills for thousands of years, but they had never faced an enemy that controlled the entire galaxy. "Show me the communication intercepts," he said. Sarah pulled up recordings from alien transmissions. Jinsu listened to species discussing human productivity rates like they were talking about machine output. He heard debates about whether humans lasted longer in dangerous mining operations or combat roles. He heard aliens complaining that their human servants weren't learning fast enough. "Here," Sarah said, highlighting one transmission. "This is from yesterday." An alien voice spoke in the musical language of the Etherians. Sarah's translation software converted it to text. "The human breeding program shows excellent results. The new generation displays improved obedience while maintaining physical capabilities. We recommend expanding the program to all sectors." Jinsu's hands clenched into fists. They weren't just enslaving humans. They were trying to breed the independence out of them. "There's something else," Sarah said quietly. "I intercepted a personal message from the Crux homeworld." She played the recording. A Crux warrior spoke to his family about his posting on a human world. He described Earth's people like they were interesting pets. He talked about human children being cute before they grew old enough to cause problems. He mentioned trading his favorite human servant to a friend because he was being transferred to a new assignment. "My sister," Jinsu said suddenly. "What?" Yuki asked. "Minji, my sister. I need to know where she is." Sarah worked at her computer for several minutes. When she found the records, her expression told Jinsu everything he needed to know. "She was assigned to Arena Complex 7 in the Vega system," Sarah said softly. "Classification: Combat Entertainment." Jinsu felt the world go quiet around him. His 12-year-old sister, who used to draw pictures of flowers and dream of becoming a teacher, was being forced to fight for alien amusement. "How long?" he asked. Sarah checked the records. 3 months ago. Jinsu, I'm sorry." "Is she alive?" "The records don't show current status for individual fighters." Jinsu closed his eyes. In his mind, he saw Minji's bright smile on the day the aliens came. She had been excited to meet beings from other worlds. She had asked if they might have children her age who could be her friends. When he opened his eyes, something fundamental had changed inside him. The last part of Jinsu that hoped for mercy or understanding was gone. "What weapons do we have?" he asked Yuki. "Mostly stolen alien equipment, some modified human weapons. Why?" "Because it's time to stop hiding. It's time to stop running. It's time to make them pay for what they've done." Sarah looked up from her computers. "Jinsu, I understand your anger. We all feel it. But we're not ready for open war." "Then we get ready. Fast." Jinsu pointed at the screens, showing human suffering. "How long do we wait? How many more children get taken while we prepare? How many more humans die in their arenas?" Yuki nodded slowly. "He's right. Every day we delay is another day they hurt our people. What did you have in mind?" Jinsu looked at the tactical displays showing alien installations around Seoul. "The next harvest ship that comes, we don't just hide from it, We take it down. We rescue whoever we can, and we send a message to every alien species in the galaxy." "What message?" Sarah asked. "That humans aren't just good for building their cities and fighting their wars. We're also very good at destroying things, and we're going to start with them." The resistance leaders spent the rest of the night planning their first real attack. As dawn approached, Jin-Soo watched the sunrise through the broken windows. Somewhere in the galaxy, his sister might be watching alien suns rise over arena sand. If she was still alive, she would not remain a slave much longer. The galaxy had voted to make humanity their enemy. Soon they would learn what human enemies could do when they had nothing left to lose. Jin-Soo stood on the roof of a collapsed apartment building, watching the alien processing station through his stolen binoculars. The facility sat in what used to be a shopping district in Seoul. Now it was surrounded by electric fences and guard towers where Kruk soldiers watched for any sign of resistance activity. 2 months had passed since the mountain meeting, 2 months of careful planning and preparation. The resistance had grown stronger, but Jin-Soo felt time running out like sand through his fingers. "Movement at the south gate." Yuki's voice crackled through his earpiece. She commanded a team positioned 3 blocks away. "Transport arriving with new prisoners." Jin-Soo focused his binoculars on the vehicle. It was one of the alien hover trucks they used to collect humans from the controlled zones. Through its transparent sides, he could see at least 30 people crowded together. Men, women, and children who would be processed and shipped off-world within hours. "Sarah, are you ready?" he asked. "The jamming device is active," came Sarah's reply from her position near the facility's communication array. "They can't call for reinforcements, but we only have 20 minutes before the jamming signature gives away our location." Jin-Soo checked his weapon, a modified alien plasma rifle that Sarah had adapted for human use. Around the facility, 15 other resistance fighters waited for his signal. They had trained for this moment, but training felt different from looking at real alien soldiers who would kill them without hesitation. The transport reached the main gates. Guards came out to check the cargo while the hover truck's engines kept running. Jin-Soo watched alien hands grabbing human arms, pulling people out like packages to be sorted. A small boy stumbled as a guard pushed him toward the processing building. He couldn't have been more than 10 years old. Jin-Soo thought of Min-ji and felt the cold fire in his chest burn brighter. "All teams, this is Jin-Soo. Begin the attack." Explosions lit up the processing station's perimeter as Sarah's homemade bombs destroyed the guard towers. Jin-Soo sprinted down the stairs and across the street as plasma bolts started flying in both directions. The resistance fighters moved like they had practiced, focusing their fire on the alien guards while trying to avoid hitting the human prisoners. Jin-Soo reached the main gate as a Krux warrior in black armor turned toward him. The alien raised his weapon, but Jin-Soo was faster. His plasma bolt caught the Krux in the chest, dropping him instantly. "Prisoners, get down!" Jin-Soo shouted as he ran toward the processing building. Inside the facility, he found what he had expected and dreaded. Cages filled with humans waiting to be shipped off-world, medical stations where aliens tested human health and abilities, computer terminals displaying shipping manifests that listed people like cargo. But what made his anger explode into rage was the recreation area. Alien technicians sat around tables, eating their meals while watching videos of human gladiators fighting in distant arenas. They were enjoying their lunch while watching his people die for entertainment. Jin-Soo's plasma rifle spoke 4 times. The technicians never had a chance to react. "Jin-Soo, we need to move!" Yuki's voice shouted through his earpiece. "More aliens incoming from the east!" He forced himself to focus on the mission. There would be time for anger later. Now he needed to save who he could. "Everyone out!" he called to the prisoners in the cages. "We're here to rescue you!" The humans looked at him with expressions of hope and fear mixed together. Some moved quickly toward the exits. Others seemed unable to believe that rescue was possible. A young woman grabbed his arm. "Are you really human resistance? We heard stories but thought they were just rumors." "We're real," Jinsu said, helping her toward the door. "And we're going to get you out of here." As the last prisoners escaped the building, Jinsu noticed something on one of the computer terminals. Personnel files for human slaves across the sector. Without thinking, he started searching through the names. There it was. Minji Park. Status: deceased. Date: 3 weeks ago. Location: Arena Complex 7, Vega System. Jinsu stared at the screen. His sister was dead. The little girl who used to sing songs while drawing pictures had died fighting alien monsters for the entertainment of species that called themselves civilized. "Jinsu, we have to go now." Yuki appeared beside him, pulling at his arm. He couldn't move. All the planning, all the hope that maybe he could save her, all the desperate energy that had driven him for months collapsed into a black hole in his chest. "She's gone," he whispered. Yuki looked at the screen and understood immediately. "I'm sorry, but we can't help her by dying here. Move!" Explosions shook the building as alien reinforcements arrived. Jinsu let Yuki pull him toward the exit, but part of his mind stayed focused on that computer screen. Minji hadn't just died. She had been murdered for entertainment. And every species in the galaxy had voted to make that possible. The rescue team made it back to their safe house with 27 freed prisoners. It should have felt like a victory. Instead, Jinsu sat in a corner staring at nothing while the rescued humans shared stories of their captivity. "They told us that some aliens questioned the slavery system," one man said. "But those voices were silenced by their governments. No species wants to give up free human labor." A woman who had worked in an alien household added her experience. "My masters talked about humans like we were clever animals. They debated whether we had real feelings or just clever programming. They decided it didn't matter either way." Sarah sat down beside Jinsu. "I heard about Minji. I'm sorry." 27 people saved," Jinsu said quietly. "Billions still enslaved. My sister dead for alien entertainment. Tell me this was worth it." "It was a start," Sarah replied. "But you're right. Rescuing a few dozen at a time won't free our species. We need something bigger." Jinsu looked up at her. "What do you mean?" "I've been working on something. A way to turn their own technology against them. But it would mean total war. No going back. No mercy. No negotiations." "They voted to enslave us all," Jinsu said. "Every single species. They killed my sister for fun. What mercy do they deserve?" Sarah was quiet for a moment. Then she nodded. "Come with me. There's something you need to see." She led him to a hidden room where alien computer systems hummed with stolen power. Screens showed technical diagrams and code that would have been impossible for humans to understand just 5 years ago. "I've learned to hack into their galactic network," Sarah explained. "I can turn their own ships against them. I can make their cities' defense systems attack their own buildings. I can crash their economies and destroy their governments." Jinsu studied the displays. "How long would it take? To prepare? 3 months? To execute? We could hit every alien world simultaneously." "And the cost?" Sarah met his eyes. "Billions of aliens would die. Maybe entire species would be wiped out. There would be no way to limit the damage once it started." Jinsu thought of Minji's bright smile, of children being loaded onto harvest ships, of aliens betting on which humans would die first in their arenas, of an entire galaxy that looked at humanity and decided they belonged in chains. "Do it," he said. Sarah nodded. "It will take time to coordinate with other resistance cells. We need to make sure humans throughout the galaxy are ready to act when the moment comes." "Then we better get started," Jinsu replied. "The galaxy wanted to see what humans are capable of when we're pushed to our limits. Let's show them." As he walked back to the main room, where rescued prisoners shared food and stories of survival, Jin-Soo felt the last of his mercy die with his sister. The aliens had made their choice. Now, humanity would make theirs. Jin-Soo stood in the command center that Sarah had built in an abandoned subway system beneath Seoul. Banks of alien computers lined the walls, all of them running programs that no species in the galaxy suspected humans could understand. 3 months of preparation had led to this moment. "Final status report," he said to the room full of resistance leaders. Captain Yuki Tanaka read from her datapad. "All Earth-resistant cells are in position. We have confirmed communication with human fighters on 47 worlds throughout the galaxy. The virus packages are ready for deployment." Dr. Sarah Chen looked up from her master control station. "Galactic network access is stable. I can reach every major alien system simultaneously. Their security protocols have no defense against what I'm about to do because they never imagined slaves could hack them." Jin-Soo nodded and walked to the communication array. It was time to send the message he had been writing in his head since the day they took Minji. "Open all channels," he ordered. "I want every alien species in the galaxy to hear this." Sarah's fingers moved across her controls. "Broadcasting on all frequencies. Every world, every ship, every station is receiving this signal." Jin-Soo picked up the microphone and began to speak. "People of the galaxy, this is Jin-Soo Park of the Human Resistance. 5 years ago, you voted to make my species your slaves. Every one of you. The wise Etherians, the honorable Crux, the peaceful traders, the small colony worlds. Every single species agreed that humans belonged in chains." He paused, thinking of all the faces he had seen on harvest ships, in processing centers, in the videos of gladiator fights. "You took our children and made them fight for your entertainment. You separated our families and sold us like property. You bred us like animals and worked us until we died. You celebrated your prosperity while it was built on our suffering." On the screens around the command center, Jin-Soo could see alien communication networks lighting up with emergency transmissions. They were starting to realize something was happening. "You thought we were primitive. You thought we were weak. You thought we could only be useful as your servants and slaves." "You were wrong." Sarah gave him a thumbs up. The first virus packages were deploying across the galactic network. "Today you learn what humans are really capable of. Not as your slaves, but as your enemies. You wanted to see monsters? Look around you." Jin-Soo nodded to Sarah. She pressed a series of keys, and the revenge 5 years in the making began. On 47 worlds, human slaves received activation signals on hidden devices that resistance fighters had smuggled to them over the years. They rose up simultaneously, turning captured alien weapons against their masters. Space stations throughout the galaxy found their human workers suddenly armed and organized, taking control of vital systems. But that was just the beginning. Sarah's virus spread through the galactic communication network like wildfire. Every alien computer system it touched became hostile to its creators. Defense networks turned their weapons on the cities they were meant to protect. Automated factories began producing dangerous chemicals instead of useful goods. Transportation systems started sending ships and vehicles to random destinations or refused to move at all. "Crux homeworld is reporting massive system failures," Yuki announced, reading intercepted communications. "Their planetary defense grid is firing on their own cities." "Etherian crystal cities are going dark," Sarah added. "Their power distribution systems are overloading themselves." Jin-Soo watched the tactical displays as red emergency signals began appearing across the galaxy map. Each one represented an alien world experiencing the consequences of their choices. "Incoming transmission from the Galactic Council," one of the technicians reported. "Put it through," Jin-Soo said. The voice of the council speaker filled the command center. The same voice that had announced humanity's enslavement 5 years ago now trembled with panic and confusion. Human resistance. We demand you stop this attack immediately. We are prepared to negotiate terms for the release of your people. Jin-Soo picked up the microphone again. You had 5 years to show mercy, 5 years to reconsider your vote, 5 years to treat us like thinking beings instead of property. You chose to double down on slavery instead. We can reach a peaceful solution, the speaker insisted. The council is willing to discuss partial autonomy for human populations. Partial autonomy? Jin-Soo's voice grew cold. You mean some humans get to be slightly less enslaved? The answer is no. He signaled to Sarah, who launched the next wave of attacks. This time, the viruses targeted alien economic systems. Banking networks crashed, erasing financial records and freezing all transactions. Trade routes shut down as navigation systems malfunctioned. Stock markets collapsed as trading algorithms went haywire. The Trader Guild is reporting complete economic collapse, Yuki announced. Their entire civilization runs on automated systems, and we just made all of them hostile. Reports flooded in from across the galaxy, alien cities in chaos as their infrastructure turned against them. Fleets stranded in space as their navigation computers sent them toward dead stars. Governments paralyzed as their communication networks refused to carry their orders. Sir, one of the technicians called out, we're receiving surrender offers from the Centauri colonies. Denied, Jin-Soo replied without hesitation. The Andromedan Federation is offering to release all human slaves immediately. Denied? Sarah looked at him with concern. Jin-Soo, some of these species are offering to give us everything we wanted. They're offering because they're losing, he replied. Where were these offers when we were defenseless? When they were loading our children onto ships? When my sister was dying in their arenas? He turned back to the communication array. Attention, Galaxy. Your surrender offers are rejected. You had your chance to show mercy when you had all the power. Now it's our turn. The next phase began automatically. Sarah had programmed the viruses to escalate their attacks every hour. Alien worlds that had managed to restore some systems found them failing again in new and creative ways. Life support systems in space stations began experiencing mysterious malfunctions. Automated defense satellites started attacking any ships that approached their planets. Jin-Soo, Yuki said quietly, the death toll estimates are coming in. We're looking at billions of alien casualties. He thought of the videos he had seen of human children fighting alien beasts while crowds cheered. He thought of breeding facilities where humans were kept like livestock. He thought of Minji's name on a casualty list, reduced to nothing but a reference number in an entertainment database. Good, he said. By the end of the first day, 17 major alien civilizations had suffered catastrophic system failures. Their cities lay in darkness. Their fleets were scattered or destroyed. Their governments had lost all control. The same species that had celebrated their prosperity built on human suffering now begged for help that would not come. Jin-Soo stood in the command center as reports continued to stream in. Outside, human resistance fighters celebrated their first day of real freedom in 5 years. But inside the command center, the mood was grimmer. They all understood that they had started something that could not be stopped. What's next? Sarah asked. Jin-Soo looked at the galaxy map, where red emergency signals outnumbered green operational systems by 10 to 1. Next, we make sure they can never enslave anyone again, he said. The galaxy voted to make us monsters. Now they get to live in the world that monsters create. 6 months after the first virus deployment, Jin-Soo walked through the ruins of what had once been the Galactic Council chambers. His boots echoed in the empty halls where representatives from across the galaxy had once voted to enslave humanity. Now those same chambers lay abandoned, their crystal walls cracked, and their advanced technology dark and silent. Captain Yuki Tanaka followed behind him, reading from a data pad that listed the current state of galactic civilization. The numbers were staggering even to those who had planned this war. "Final casualty reports," Yuki said. "The Etherian homeworld lost 60% of its population when their crystal cities collapsed. The Crux military is completely destroyed. 17 major civilizations have suffered societal collapse. 43 others are operating at less than 20% capacity." Jinsu stopped at the council speaker's podium where the vote to enslave humanity had been announced. The golden platform was cracked down the middle, split by an explosion that had destroyed the council's central computer core. "What about human losses?" he asked. "Much lower than projected. Most slaves were in secured facilities away from the infrastructure we targeted. We estimate that 80% of enslaved humans survived the initial attacks. Rescue operations are ongoing on 38 worlds." Dr. Sarah Chen emerged from what had been the Council's data archives, her arms full of alien storage devices. "I've recovered most of their historical records. Species that claimed to be peaceful had been enslaving other races for thousands of years. We weren't their first victims, just their most recent." Jinsu was not surprised. People who could vote unanimously to enslave an entire species had clearly done it before. "Any word from the surrender delegations?" he asked. 12 different alien governments have sent representatives to Earth," Yuki replied. "They're all waiting in the temporary facilities we set up. Each one claims to represent the true voice of their people and says they never supported human slavery." "Lies," Sarah said bluntly. "I have the voting records. Every single species voted yes. No exceptions, no protests, no abstentions." Jinsu walked to the chamber's main viewing screen, which had once displayed voting results. Now it showed a map of the galaxy marked with red zones where civilizations had collapsed and yellow zones where they struggled to survive. "Bring them here," he said. "All of them. It's time to decide what happens next." 2 hours later, representatives from what remained of 12 alien species stood in the ruined council chamber. They looked small and frightened in the vast space that had once symbolized their power over the galaxy. Jinsu studied their faces, looking for any sign of the arrogance he remembered from 5 years ago. The Etherian delegate stepped forward first. Her crystal skin had lost its glow, making her look fragile and gray. "Commander Park," she began, "the Etherian people wish to express our deep regret for the actions of our former government. We were deceived by leaders who did not represent our true values." "Your true values," Jinsu repeated. "Were those the same values that let you use human servants in your temples, that let you buy human children to work in your crystal gardens?" The Etherian had no answer. A representative from the Trader Guild spoke next. His voice shook as he tried to maintain diplomatic composure. "The Guild recognizes that mistakes were made in our treatment of human resources. We are prepared to pay substantial reparations and guarantee full rights to all humans within Guild space." "Human resources," Jinsu said. "Even now, you can't bring yourself to say the word slaves." The alien fell silent. One by one, each representative offered apologies, reparations, and promises of future cooperation. They spoke of cultural misunderstandings and political pressures that had forced their votes. They claimed their people had always harbored doubts about human slavery, but were afraid to speak out. Jinsu listened to it all without expression. When they finished, the chamber fell quiet except for the sound of wind blowing through the broken walls. "You want to know what your problem is?" Jinsu finally said. "You're apologizing for getting caught, not for what you did. If we had remained weak and primitive, you would still be harvesting human children today. If we had never learned to fight back, you would still be breeding us like animals." He walked among the alien delegates as he continued speaking. You built your entire civilization on the suffering of others, for thousands of years. You enslaved species that couldn't fight back. You told yourselves it was natural, that might makes right, that some beings are born to serve others. Jinsu stopped in front of the Crux representative, a once proud warrior who now looked broken and defeated. You taught us that lesson very well. Now you get to live by it. The Crux delegate looked up with desperate eyes. What do you want from us? Nothing, Jinsu replied. That's what you never understood about humans. We don't want to rule over you. We don't want your resources or your technology or your worlds. He turned to address all the delegates at once. We want you to remember. Every time you rebuild a city, remember that it fell because you enslaved children. Every time you restore your governments, remember that they collapsed because you voted to treat thinking beings like property. Every time you look at the stars, remember that there are consequences for what you choose to do with power. Sarah stepped forward with a holographic display showing the galaxy's current state. Green dots marked worlds under human control, but they made up less than 10% of the total. We could take everything, she said to the delegates. Our technology is superior now. Your defenses are gone. We could make you our slaves just like you made us yours. The aliens looked terrified at the prospect. But we won't, Jinsu continued, because we're not you. We don't measure our worth by how many others we can control. We measure it by how we treat those who can't fight back. He gestured toward the broken council chambers. The galaxy will rebuild. You can create new governments and new alliances. You can restore your cities and your trade networks. But there will be new rules written in the ashes of the old ones. Jinsu walked to the center of the chamber where the council speaker had once stood. First rule, no species will ever again vote to enslave another. The penalty is the complete destruction of your civilization. Second rule, any species that practices slavery will face immediate human intervention. We are no longer primitive, we are no longer defenseless, we are watching. Third rule, there will be human observers on every major world and every council that makes decisions affecting other species. You lost the right to govern yourselves when you proved you cannot be trusted with power over others. The Etherian delegate raised a shaking hand. What if we refuse to accept these terms? Jinsu looked at her with the same cold expression he had worn while watching harvest ships load human children. Then you can ask the Andromedan Federation what happens to species that refuse human terms. Oh wait, you can't. They don't exist anymore. The chamber fell silent again. Outside, the wind carried the sound of human ships landing at spaceports throughout the former Council world. Earth's children were coming home to claim their place among the stars. Go back to your people, Jinsu told the delegates. Tell them that the age of easy slavery is over. Tell them that there are now humans watching every corner of the galaxy. And we remember what it feels like to be helpless. As the aliens filed out of the ruined chamber, Sarah approached Jinsu. Do you think it will work? Can we actually prevent future slavery? Jinsu looked up at the broken ceiling where stars were visible through holes torn by human weapons. Maybe, maybe not. But they'll think twice before voting to enslave anyone ever again. And if they don't, they'll find out that humans are very good at holding grudges. He picked up a piece of crystal debris from the speaker's podium, part of the platform where his species' fate had been decided 5 years ago. The galaxy wanted to know what humans are capable of when they're desperate and cornered. Now they know. We're capable of ending civilizations that hurt children. We're capable of bringing down empires built on slavery. And we're capable of making sure it never happens again. Jinsu dropped the crystal fragment and walked toward the exit. Behind him, the ruined council chambers stood as a monument to the price of treating humans like monsters. Outside, human ships filled the sky, carrying freed slaves home and taking former slaves to their new roles as guardians of galactic peace. The age of easy oppression was over. The age of human vigilance had begun. And in a small part of his heart that still hurt when he thought of Min-ji, Jin-Soo finally felt something that might one day become peace.